This video is sponsored by Surfshark, the best VPN on the market. Surfshark is an app or browser extension that allows you to change your location to access websites in other countries and keep you safe from hackers. For example, we here in Ireland can access other countries' Netflix libraries, streaming services such as DAZN in Spain for those all-important Premier League games. Surfshark keeps you safe and private by protecting everything you do online. When your device connects to the internet, all that information is, in a way, blurred out. Surfshark is particularly useful for keeping you safe if you use public Wi-Fi, such as a college or a cafe. Surfshark allows you to use one subscription on unlimited devices, meaning that you can even share an account with friends and family. On top of this, Surfshark offers a 30-day money-back guarantee, so if you don't like it, you can even get your money back. Our sign-up offer gives you Surfshark VPN for just over €2 per month and up to 4 months free. Why not scan the QR code on screen or use the link in the description to take advantage of this offer. What is up, my friends? How are we? You're very welcome along to a brand new week here on Anfield Agenda. And this is, of course, Monday night's Late Night Agenda. Tonight, we're going to try and figure out what the plan of action is for Wednesday. Are we feeling confident about it? We'll talk, of course, about the potential fallout if it doesn't go to plan. We'll ask you what you guys think of the current setup. Do you think heads need to roll this season? We'll try to figure out what has gone wrong and what is real and what isn't real, because quite frankly, some of the media manipulation has been nothing short of embarrassing. Particular couple of outlets that I'd like to discuss this evening around that one. On top of that, we're going to talk about Steven Gerrard and some of the quotes that he's had to say about his time at Liverpool and, of course, what it means to play for the club. We'll be talking about Gary Lineker and him heaping praise on the shoulders of young Rio Ngamoa. And we'll also talk about a couple of other bits and pieces, including Kieran Morrison being called up for a senior Northern Ireland squad. So congratulations to him on that one. But, of course, the main topic we're going to discuss tonight is our frustrations, our growing frustrations around the situation at the club and the season that is going from one frustration to another. We'll try to pick the bones out of it, but most importantly, we'll try to get your opinion, because that's what we want here. This is your show. You guys have your say. Right, I've seen a couple of comments just before we went live that I wanted to bring back up. Stevie Boy said, have the players down tools? This is one of the really interesting questions around these type of situations, isn't it? Deep down, we all like to believe that nobody would down tools and that everybody wants to play for the badge, play for the fans. But you would have to say that time and time again, when a manager gets fired and a new one comes in, you see a bounce, you see a response from players. And that could be a new manager motivating them, or it could be that perhaps they weren't leaving it all out there with the old manager. And it's a really tricky thing to talk about, Stevie Boy, because I don't want to accuse Liverpool players of not putting in a shift. I don't accuse them of not playing to the best of their abilities, but I think history has been littered with these situations. Look at United. You know, Ruben Amorim there, that's the same squad right now. But Michael Carragher has gone in and been able to get something else out of them. And that's what a lot of us have been calling for this season with regards to our own situation. I never for 1 second believed that Steven Gerrard would be a long-term successor, but I do think he would be a very adequate placeholder until we sort out the manager situation. I've been looking and reading a lot today, Stevie Boy, about the differing views from people on this. And even people who are of the mindset that they think winning the league title last year gives them the ability to have a crack at turning this round. I can understand that. That's a sincere view. I just strongly disagree with it. What I don't like, though, is the manipulation side of it. And that's the part of it that I'd like to try to highlight tonight. You've seen Chris Williams breaking ranks yesterday and talking about some of the dark arts that go along with covering this football club. And I dare say probably more football clubs as well. So I want to talk about that a little bit tonight. We want to know what Jamie Carragher has to say, and I'll tell you why I agree and disagree with Carragher and what his opinion is of it. But the first poll of the night that we have up for you, ladies and gents, is: do you expect Liverpool to reach the Champions League next round? We'll leave that one up to see what you're thinking. And kind of right on time as well. Sam, how are we, dude? Sam said, are you still confident in top 5? Yes, I think I am. I think I am, Sam. It's so difficult, though, because it's hard to have any confidence in anything. You know, it's hard to say, I'm confident we don't play well next week, or I'm confident we do play well next week. It's so hit and miss, so scattergun, that it's really difficult to have any kind of joined up thinking around it. I think we should be able to do it. You know, we have a good enough squad that this shouldn't even be a situation we're in, you know, scraping and fighting to try and get that last spot. Again, though, we had another opportunity this weekend, and look, technically, we did move above Chelsea with the draw against Spurs, but that's a game we should have been winning. You know, I tried to build it all week as a confidence builder, and it didn't turn out to be that way, did it? Good evening, Craig and chat. Thank you, James. Appreciate you, bro. Thank you for being with us for a year and a half as well, my man. That's awesome. Thank you. Right. Tony, how are you, dude? So Tony said, hey, Craig, hope you're well. Time for him to go now. Even if the players don't want to play for him, play for the badge and go for the Champions League. But these guys are a shambles, mate. So, yeah, look, it is very difficult to try to find any positives, isn't it, Tony, in this situation, or reasons to be optimistic. One thing that I've tried to constantly say, though, is whatever happens next season, whomever is in charge, I do think that this group of players will push on next year. There's just been a very clear pattern for me about the type of opinions that people have versus the type of opinions that the clubs want people to have. And one outlet that I would like to say that I've lost a lot of respect for on a personal level, and I'm not trying to push an anti-this agenda, but just my own personal view, is The Athletic. I really have lost a lot of respect for an outlet that when they launched in the UK and Ireland, I bought my subscription, used to really enjoy reading what the lads had to say. But over the past year, I found that they've become extremely, I don't want to say pro the club because, you know, that sounds weird to say, but they've become extremely predictable. Even today, Simon Hughes, who I think is a wonderful writer, I really do. I think he's very good at what he does. Even his opinion today, talking about, you know, a manager that won the league last year deserves the chance to put this right, bringing up the situation with the tragedy of Diogo. And when I say bring it up, I don't mean to, you know, belittle Simon with that one. He brought it up as a fair point, but those days, that's gone, you know. And what I keep trying to put across is, it's not like we're still, you know, we were playing terrible and now all of a sudden it's clicked for us. We're 10 months into this and we're still here. And my view has always been that this carried on from last season. You know, this didn't just appear this season. It's gotten worse this season. But one thing I've really paid a lot of attention to today, and I say you guys probably have as well, is the fitness side of it. There's been a couple of interesting posts from Simon Brundish, Chris Williams, about the lack of intensity in training and the amount of recovery that's going on and real, not real graft out there on the training pitch. So I wanted to talk about that as well. Yeah, I wanted to talk about that tonight because that is a very interesting point on this. Like, we went from a team that was up in your face, 100 miles an hour, in the opposition's ear, non-stop, to this team that just looked like they're, I don't want to say unfit, but not fit enough is probably what I would say. So, yeah, there's a lot I want to get through tonight. So strap yourselves in. This is going to be a full 2-hour stream because I have a lot I want to go through and I have a lot I want to hear from you guys. Eddie said, it's disgraceful he's not been sacked yet. Right, I think, Eddie, you've led me into what I wanted to open up about with Jamie Carragher. This is what Jamie Carragher, I should say, of what Jamie Carragher's had to say, Eddie, and I wanted to get your take on this. So Jamie Carragher said, the bigger point is how worrying it is for the manager. I think there's a difference with most supporters in terms of what we see online/social media compared to match-going fans. I think for a lot of this season, when people have turned on Arne Slot, the match-going fans have stuck with him. You look back at what happened with Mo Salah, the next away game was at the San Siro and they were chanting for Arne Slot, and it's not easy for a Liverpool crowd to turn on the manager who's won a title 12 months before. I felt there was a big shift yesterday in terms of how the crowd felt with the team and their manager. The booing at the end, that was proper booing. That was a really unhappy and disgruntled fan base, and I think it's going to be really difficult for Arne to get them back. Now, there's a lot to go through in that from what Jamie said. So let's start off by breaking it down bit by bit. Let's talk about the difference between social media fans and match-going fans. So here's what I would like to say about that. He isn't wrong. There is a difference, and the difference to me is pretty simple. The guys who are lucky enough, and the girls who are lucky enough to go to the stadium or travel with the Reds, it's a last resort for them to get to the point of booing. You know, I think we'll all agree on that. That isn't the way our fan base usually goes on. So I agree with him in that regard, that it does take a lot for fans to turn on the manager. But I think constantly undermining any supporter that isn't from Liverpool or doesn't go to the game week in and week out is a little bit tiring at this point. Because yes, some of social media can be over the top. Of course it can. But there are many, many, many Liverpool fans around the world who just feel helpless in this situation. Who feel like their voices are constantly being undermined, while at the same time their pockets are constantly being emptied. Football clubs cannot and will not survive with just sticking with the opinion or the want of one set of fans. We are a worldwide club with a worldwide fan base, and that needs to be taken into account. So that's the first point I'd like to make. Point two is, yes, the match-going fans have stuck with them, but they've done that out of a sense of duty and a sense of, I guess the word I'm looking for here is sincerity. You know, Liverpool fans don't want to boo a manager, as Jamie said, let alone one that won a league title 12 months ago. But I think I disagree on when he thinks that shift took place. You know, I listen to a lot of what Jamie Carragher has to say. I idolise him as a player. I disagree with quite a bit of what he says, but I still respect him greatly. And for me, I think that shift happened earlier. I think it happened in and around the Forest game, personally. And I also don't think that's, and I might be wrong on this, if I am, I apologise, but I don't think that's the first time Carragher has said, I felt there was a big shift in terms of how the fans went in the stadium. I think he said that before this season. But the most important part of all of that, in my opinion, is Carragher saying that it's going to be very difficult for Arne Slot to win this back. It should be impossible, because quite frankly, he shouldn't have the opportunity now to win them back, because he should be fired. I don't get this constant nonsense about the Liverpool way, not sacking managers. Leicester City fired Claudio Ranieri after he won them the Premier League the next season. So we're not as big as Leicester. Is that what we're saying? What is the upside of not doing the right thing here and removing the manager? It's going to cause a bigger divide in the fan base. It's going to cause more unease inside the stadium. For what? A manager that just doesn't connect with the fans. I think Jamie needs to make the distinction between people putting up with Arne versus people actively supporting Arne. And I think a lot of the match-going fans have bitten their tongues a little bit. But I've been speaking to match-going fans for a really long time. And I ask, and I keep saying this, I ask them, what's going on in and around you? What are you hearing? What are people saying? And very, very few of them are supportive. A lot of them, of course, you know, have their views inside and outside the stadium, and they could be a bit more expressive outside the stadium. But it takes a lot for fans, Liverpool fans, to get to this point. So, yeah, it's just a shit show. And what I really, really, really can't stand is the manipulation. You know, and that's where I think the likes of The Athletic and some of these publications really need to take a long, hard look in the mirror. You know, are you a journalist or are you a reporter? Because it's very different things. You're supposed to be subjective. You're supposed to sit back, look at the situation as a journalist and give your honest take on it, the good and the bad. That's not what we get. And these people have influence. So the likes of Dominic King and these other journalists that get their knickers in a twist every time that I call them out, love to say that I know what I'm doing. They love to push it back on me to say that I'm some proprietor of negativity and toxicity. As if they're the ones being morally virtuous in this situation. It isn't the case. They know that they rely upon the access for a living. That isn't a healthy relationship. I've said this for a long time. It is not healthy for a football club to have that power over the press that covers them. Shouldn't be that case. Journalists should be able to write with free will, without worry about ramifications or without worry about access being removed, but they're not. And Chris Williams broke ranks last night, and now more started to come out today. And you can see for the very first time, what I've been telling you has been the case. When I come on to say to you that dissenting voices are quiet and people tell me I'm bitter, people tell me I'm jealous of others that get opportunities. No, I just want a level playing field. But I also want that for Liverpool's fans. That all of our voices count. All of our voices are heard. Yes, there are people who are lucky enough to go to the game week in and week out. And nobody begrudges them their opportunities. But everybody puts their hand in their pocket. Everybody's emotionally invested in this. Everybody wants the best for the football club. And to just flippantly just say, oh, toxic match going or toxic online fans, social media, they don't count. They're different. They're not different. They're the same. It's just more heightened on social media. That's my take on it. And it's turning our club against its own fans yet again. Happens with tickets, fans against each other. Happens now, top reds versus people who dare to speak out. It needs to stop, because the only thing that's losing here is the football club. The football club's been dragged from pillar to post. The football club is looking like it's a dictatorship at the minute, and that there's only 2 or 3 people's opinion that actually holds water and counts. And those opinions are from people who don't show their face. Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards, behind the scenes, not taking account of their own failures. So fans do need to have a say, and maybe they need to start voting with their feet. I don't know. Not for me to tell others how to act. But this can't go on. This denying reality cannot go on. Why does it have to wait till we get to a point of no return? Why do we have to wait until we're potentially out of the Champions League before we act? Why not act before the worst happens? That's what confuses so many of us. And if you truly believe that this is a blip and that Arne is the guy to take the club forward, tell us why. Sit down and tell us what the data is showing that we're unlucky. Rather than doing your round table circle jerk of an excuse of an absolutely pathetic video, come on and actually answer real questions. Let fans know what you think they need to know, or why you think they're wrong. But they don't do that. All they ever do is belittle, blacklist, quieten, suppress. That's all they do. Cowards, each and every fucking one of them. Show your face. Do what you're supposed to be doing, which is leading the football club. It's not your toy. It's not your pet project. Fans will still be here long after you lads have fucked off, taken your millions and run off. We'll still be here, because fans are the lifeblood of a football club. Derek, how are you, my man? Said Craig was proud of you for yesterday. Well said. Look, sometimes, Derek, I look back at these things and I feel a little bit, I won't say embarrassed, but I look back at them and I feel a little bit, geez, Craig, you went in a bit hard there. But that wasn't yesterday. Yesterday, I stand over every word I said. Every single one of them. Because it's a shit show right now. And I'm fed up of being told that what we're seeing, what we're all witnessing with our own 2 eyes, isn't fact. You know, it's embarrassing. So for the talk of the Liverpool way, is manipulating fans the Liverpool way? Is manipulating the media the Liverpool way? That's the Liverpool way, is it? Whereas you'll never walk alone, this means more, we're all in this together. They're all just marketing slogans at this point. That's all it is. You know, they've shown the disrespect towards fans over and over again. Evening, Craig, bro, and community. I think Slot has lost the dressing room, but also the players need to stand up and be counted. Slot out, please. So, David, this is definitely one of the subjects that we discuss quite a bit, and people often ask why you don't talk about the players. Why is it all on Arne Slot? And it's a fair question, and I've tried to think about the best way to answer that. And I think it's not new, but I think it's probably right, is if it was a couple of players that were underperforming, you'd say, yeah, fair enough, these lads need to pull their socks up. These lads need to be better, try harder. But it's not. We're talking about 8, 9, 10 players here that are better than we're seeing. And I've tried to say it over and over again. I don't for 1 second believe that we have a bad team. Not at all. And I don't for 1 second regret the transfer business that we did in the summer. I think Liverpool made some really good signings. But what I do regret is how we're feeling right now. How that optimism, that hope has come to this. Bitterness, anger, frustration, turning on each other. All to protect what? A man who's failing. A man who's going to be compensated with millions of pounds when he's fired. Just do what needs to be done. Try to save our season, rather than trying to say I told you so every time he wins a game of football. The James Pearces of this world with their those with short memories nonsense. We have memories, yes, but we're also not idiots. We can see it with our own eyes. We can see the lack of passion, the lack of effort, the lack of grit, the lack of desire, the lack of fight out there on the pitch. That comes from the top. That's put in from the top. Hey Craig, I've been hanging around for a bit now, and the fact I felt I miss your stream is proof of the community you've built. Thanks for your honesty and emotion. Someone actually said, Jerome, yesterday in one of the comments on the video that, what was the exact phrase they used? That everything I do is performative. You know, if that is the case, give me my Oscar, please. You know, put me up there with Michael B. Jordan and Jesse Buckley and give me my Oscar. Because, mate, I tell you, I wish I didn't care about it as much as I did. I wish it doesn't hurt me as much as it does. But I'm one of these sad losers that this football club is, outside of my family, the be-all and end-all of my existence. I'm not saying that it's a proud thing. It's probably a bit of a cringy thing. But it's a fact. When Liverpool win, I feel like I can walk on air. Belly aside. When Liverpool lose, I feel like my world's crushed. But when Liverpool lose and look like they do so or drop points without a fight, that feels unforgivable. What do you think Tom Werner thought of yesterday? Yeah, it's a tough one to gauge, isn't it? Because we don't know what motivates all of these people. I'd like to think everybody wants Liverpool to be as successful as possible. But ultimately, they have no lifelong connection to the club. They've come in, they've done good things, they've improved it, but they've also made a ton of money out of it. So I really don't know what way what way Tom Werner or Mike Gordon or John W. Henry feel about it, because they're always conspicuous by their absence, and they swan in a couple of times a season, and I'm sure go round and, you know, give high fives to Edwards and Hughes and everything's great, but surely they can see. We know there's one thing we've learned about FSG over the years is that they respond to negative publicity, That's what makes them act. So, unfortunately, I think fans are going to have to step up and have their say and be vocal. And Carragher might want to keep disregarding this as social media fans or whatever, but nobody wants it to creep into the stadium. When we tune in to watch the game, when we want to see the boys do their thing, we don't want to hear booing at the end of it. Fans inside the stadium don't want to be doing that. But that is when you feel so helpless, when you feel so frustrated. What else can you do? Because they know they have you by the short and curlies. This is a lifelong thing. You're in it. You know, you can't just switch it off. Terry, how are you, my man? And thank you so much, Terry, for being with us for 9 months, mate, as a member. Really appreciate your support and thank you for being part of our community. Terry said, Carragher's wrong. I'm fortunate enough to go to Anfield fortnightly. Fans are fans. Take your kit money, TV money. We all have a say. Yeah, thank you, Terry. And look, as I said, I know what it takes for match-going fans to boo or to turn this way. It's not easy and it will break your hearts. But what else can you do when you feel like everything is falling on deaf ears? It feels like Hughes and Edwards are so determined that they're going to be proved right that the hell with the consequences in the time being. As fans, and I keep talking about the amount of times we're asked to constantly just write off seasons. Why should we write off this Champions League campaign right now by letting Arna stay in charge? Because the best case scenario is we get past Galatasaray and we get our asses handed to us by PSG. Change it. Change the fortunes of the season. Change the direction. Again, I hate to say look up the road at what United did, but it's not rocket science. Same squad, different mentality, different results, different circumstances, of course, because they only play one game a week. But when you see Chris Williams and others talking about the real lack of intensity in training, that's concerning. Now, I'm going to walk through some of that in a while and talk about that lack of intensity and what that translates to on the pitch. Silverbear, how are you, sir? Craig, I can't imagine your pain to say it as it is. With so much negativity around LFC, we all know you don't treat this lightly. Though it sucks, thank you for being so honest when many are not. Hugs. It's really difficult, dude. And I'm not looking for sympathy. Of course I'm not. I just don't want this to continue. You know, we're all hurting. I've never seen such a swing over the stage of a few months. And what I've been lucky enough, Silver Bear, was I'm able to say what I say. I'm not withholding to anybody. I only have to operate within the laws. I can have my say. I can come on here and nobody's going to tell me otherwise. And that is a freedom that a lot of these people that cover our club are envious of deep down. Because nobody handed me access to Liverpool to cover it, to write about it. I had to claw my way against all the odds, against all the opportunities given to others, against everything, to keep having my say, being belittled, being blackballed, having the club asking supporters clubs what their business is with us when we're meeting them. All of these things. But they can't deny our numbers. They can't deny our community. And they can't deny that people seemingly are resonating with something that we have to say, because our community is growing week on week, month on month, stream on stream. But there's a lazy trope that gets thrown towards us or YouTubers that we love to cash in on losses. I tell you one thing, and I can back this up with the numbers. Our channel has never, ever, ever seen a better time than when we won the league. Never. You look at August and that transfer window and that whole period, our channel has never, ever seen so much activity. And that was in the good times, when fans were so happy, looking forward to the season, optimistic, hopeful. To see it get to this point now, I can't figure it out how we get so, like, I'm sorry to keep banging on about this, but if I could bottle August and just keep that forever, I'd have an unbelievable life, because that was a time I cherished for all of us together. Optimistic, hopeful, so happy to see the club back in a league title winning manager, so happy to think, okay, we're making that next step up. We could be playing really good football next year with some really good footballers. And there's only one common denominator here, and that's the manager. The manager has failed this season. It hurts to say it, because nobody wants it to happen. But sticking your fingers in your ears and saying la 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 isn't going to change it. It's just going to get worse. Fans are going to get more frustrated. More people are going to walk out of the stadium. Those corporate tickets are going to be more difficult to sell. But all you're doing now is disenfranchising a whole lot of fans and making them feel like they're not wanted, they're not welcome, their opinion doesn't count. Simon, how are you, sir? And again, Silver Bear, thank you. That really does mean so much, mate. To have the support of you guys is all I have. Because there's enough people with the knives out trying to make sure we don't blossom. But I'll say one thing, and I'll leave it at that, with regards to what we haven't got. If I had an interview with Jurgen Klopp or Arne Slot or any of these lads, it would break the fucking internet. And others that have had these opportunities have wasted them. So we're going to keep doing what we do, which is be honest, have a say. You might agree with it, you might not, but you're always welcome in. You're always welcome to have a say. Yeah, and we're going to keep trying to do you guys proud, because that's what I'm here to do. To listen to you, to hear you, and to try and express those views. Anyway, sorry about that. Simon said, club struggling to sell hospitality tickets enough, said, I got a free upgrade for Wednesday, not excited for it at all, feel terrible about that. And it's going to continue like that, Simon. You know, it's going to be more and more difficult to ask people to fork out £400, £500, £600, £700 to go to a game of football with a glorified buffet. You know, it's difficult. You know, you want sell those tickets, you're going to have an interesting and an entertaining team out there on the pitch. So anyway, look, I have a few more super chats to get through, but I want to just run through some of the things that were being written today from Chris Williams about the lack of intensity and the lack of real hard training. I want to just take you through some of these. So this is what Chris Williams said, and you can find all the Chris's posts on X. It's at Chris78 Williams. He said, if you change the head coach, and I think it's inevitable and the right thing to do, there are those above who must fall on their sword too. Otherwise, you get a situation like United have encountered. That's very interesting. Listen to what he said there. If the manager goes, and that's inevitable, those above must fall on their sword too. And herein lies the problem, ladies and gentlemen, because the people with that power are the ones who don't want to fall on their sword, who refuse to acknowledge they made a mistake and to think that they know better than you, I, and everybody else, because something in the numbers shows them that. There are certain things that you can't measure. Goodwill, atmosphere. You can't measure those things. Anxiety. These are all things that are part and parcel of football. So yeah, we could end up going down a miserable road. So FSG are going to have to man up here and make some tough calls. Because these two are running the football club like a dictatorship and their own toy. And they think they're answerable to nobody. Also, he goes on to say, training methods fully evolved in March last year to focus on injury prevention that had slowly been building since June 2024. Time off is a very specific concept in red zone training. No doubt preseason was affected, but this way of training was planned in advance. He goes on to say, I have genuine issue with certain people in the club who actively pressure others into towing lines and get in the ear of the free press to complain about coverage. Think about that. The club are getting in the ear of the free press to complain about negative coverage. Think about that. What are they doing here? You going to keep writing those negative posts? You going to keep writing those articles negatively about the club? We might have to reconsider something here. You know where I'm going with this. It's the great unsaid that we've tried to discuss on here many times. It's the elephant in the room. That there's a reason why certain people have access and there's a reason why certain people don't. And it's got nothing to do with how good you are at your job. It's to do with how much you're willing to bend the knee. How much you're willing to drink the soup. That's why I call them cowards. Simple. Because it takes balls to stand there and keep fighting your corner and keep speaking out when everyone around you is ridiculing you. It takes balls. Doesn't take balls to sit in there with your feet under the table, writing bullshit that nobody cares about, and to cast off people who dare speak out against it. Doyle calling Liverpool wannabe Arsenal fans and Manchester City fans. Imagine an Arsenal fan telling you how to be a Liverpool fan. Fuck you. That's my answer. He said, I also have massive issues with players who half-heartedly play. I also have no time for stubborn coaches. So as you can see there, Chris, who was a journalist that did cover the club, has broken free. And I don't know Chris Williams, but I'm so grateful that he's done this, that he's finally spoken out and fans can really see now. I've told you for years football clubs lie to you. Because they have to. It's their job to keep bringing in money. That's it. If success was all that defined them, if that's what this club was really about, there's no way Arne's still in a job. Simple as that. Because he has not given us the best chance of success this season. Certainly not. He threw away a League Cup. He can't beat relegation fodder. He complains about the format of the league, the style of play, the change of tactics. Everything is everything but his fault. Where's the accountability? I haven't seen any. I don't remember Arne Slot once coming out and apologising to fans for the state of what we're seeing. Or demanding that it'll be better. Only self-serving bullshit. That's all you ever hear. And as for James Pearce, I don't know what to say anymore about James Pearce. I don't know what to say. You know, when James Pearce wrote for the Echo, he was brilliant and enjoyable. But now, these days, the biggest reason why Slot is hemorrhaging support amongst match-going fans is the stale brand of football Liverpool are playing. There's so little to excite, so little to emotionally invest. Slot hasn't reached the point of no return, writes James Pearce. He could still turn this around, but the clock is ticking. No, it isn't, James. The clock has stopped. The clock is done. He can't turn it round. Nobody wants him to turn it round. We want him gone. The time is up. And despite how much you and others try to paint a picture of everything being rosy, and Ornstein goes on the podcast and talks about those in positions of power at the club back Arne Slot. Yeah, because their neck's on the line as well. Nobody joining these dots, no. Nobody going to say the fucking obvious. That these two won't admit their own fault. They won't admit they made a mistake because it looks bad on them. So to hell with the season, to hell with this season's Champions League, to hell with the League Cup. We're just going to carry on, stick our fingers in your ears, and you fucking Aegis can carry along with us. Tough shit. It's embarrassing. So what happened to James Pearce? What happened? Honestly, because he's a lovely man. And it breaks my heart to say anything negative about James Pearce. But he is denying reality again. And if you want an example of it, last season, he came out and said that Liverpool Football Club have no intention of signing a goalkeeper. What happened? A few days later, we agreed a deal for Georgie. Now, everybody and their dog knew that was happening. He certainly fucking knew it was happening. But why did he come out and write what he wrote? I'll let you try and figure that one out. Might it be these little WhatsApp groups? Might it be a little nudge in the right direction? A little bit of, let's cause a stir over here while we're doing something over here. It's just, again, it's us all bullshit. Did they really go to college to study journalism for that? Like, truly, spend 4 years of your life or 5 years of your life studying journalism for that? To be a yes man, a puppet? So you can have a few pictures with the Premier League trophy? Get an interview here or there? An interview, by the way, that will never be anyway insightful because you're not allowed to ask difficult questions. It's just copy and paste bullshit. Press conferences are nonsense. Nobody tunes into them because everybody knows damn well that nothing difficult is going to be asked. So, what do you guys think? Chancellor Mohida said, "Hey Craig, we've been slapped and disrespected multiple times at Anfield. I can't stand it. I don't think we win tomorrow. Arne out." So I don't know what happens on Wednesday. My preview for that one is coming out at about 10:45, but I honestly don't know what happens on Wednesday night. I think it's very difficult to try and figure it out because there is a world where with the crowd behind them, if they can harness it, that Liverpool go and get the job done. Of course there is. We're a better team than Galatasaray. But we haven't been able to show it twice this season when we've lost away to them. And you wait and see. When he wins tomorrow, straight away the puff pieces will be out. Or excuse me, on Wednesday, if we get through against Gala. The puff pieces will be out. And they'll be talking about, things starting to be fixed. And the same shit they were going on about months ago. And yeah, here we are. 1 point out of 6 against Wolves and Spurs. 1 point. And we'll run through how bad the numbers have gotten a little bit later on. I feel like Jerome said, I meant to say I didn't want to miss your stream on my birthday. What's your Liverpool basketball starting 5? Oh, I don't know about the basketball one, dude. You'd have to have Virgil in there anyway. But happy birthday, Jerome. Happy birthday to you, bro. Hope you had a lovely day. Luke said, we've gone from believers to doubters. Yeah. That's sad though, isn't it? There was I read a little bit from Adam Lallana's book that somebody posted in our Discord talking about what they felt under Jurgen and, how they looked to the sideline to see a manager celebrating a tackle in the same way he would a goal. And they were all willing to run through brick walls because of the motivation, because of the inspiration that Jurgen gave. Do you really think you're going to get that from Arne? He might be a master tactician, but he ain't a motivator. Because he isn't able to get this team going. Slot will pull another Fede versus Plymouth excuse for Rio. I hope he doesn't, but that in itself was embarrassing, by the way. That Fede was basically blackballed for that game against Plymouth where he puts out a shit team and then moans that the player who's barely played and certainly hadn't played much with those in and around him didn't perform well. On Rio, actually, he brought up Rio. Gary Lineker, full of praise for young Rio and Gamoa, which was lovely to see. Tell you now what Gary had to say about Rio. He said this, I don't want to get carried away. I'm not comparing him, but I am saying that he's got that stop-start sharpness of Kylian Mbappe. I'm not saying he's Mbappe because obviously he's one of the great players, but he's got enormous potential, which is lovely to hear and lovely to see because we all know it. He said he wasn't scared to take people on. Pedro Porro didn't know which way he was going to go. And then that very clever little threaded pass through. He went very close on a couple of times, hit the outside of the post. I thought it was really special. I was surprised he went off, actually. And I don't think Gary was the only one that was surprised that Rio Wangamoa went off. Why? You've got a 17-year-old kid, and we all remember what it was like at 17. Full of energy. You'd play 2 games a day. And this kid hasn't played much football this season. Now, Arna will say he's played the most minutes of any 17-year-old, but he's played very little football, and certainly not a lot of 90 minutes. So why wasn't he left on that pitch yesterday? Instead, we see Cody Gakpo left on. Now, I know Cody came off a little bit later on. Why? Why take Rio off? You're one bit of attacking threat in wide areas. The guy who had 6 out of 6 successful take-ons in the first half. Why are you taking him off? And then again at the end, thrown on Fede for the garbage, please rescue me minutes. It's just all... It reminds me of Ten Hag. I hate to say it, but it does. He used to just empty the bench at the end of games of any attacking talent he had, lash up his centre-backs into the centre-forward position and hope for a miracle to bail him out. And that's exactly what I felt like yesterday when I seen the way we went about it. We conceded the goal, which was as predictable as fuck. And then all of a sudden, and then Dom starts to give out about people leaving the stadium. He said 80 minutes now. I don't know. He's got a better vantage point than me, obviously. But I think fans are just heartbroken. Liverpool have conceded, I think, 10 goals after the 90th minute this season. That is astonishing. Blaine, how are you, my man? 9 months with us as well. Appreciate you, Blaine. Thank you. Hey, Craig. Thanks for being a legend. I still can't believe Arna's still in a job. The football we're watching is such a hard watch. Gutted. It really is a hard watch. And again, that's difficult to say because we know what they can do. So how are we feeling about Wednesday? You know, we asked in the poll question, do you expect Liverpool to reach Champions League next round? Over 2,000 votes and 65%. 65%. Now look, there are a few percentage points in there of people who maybe aren't Liverpool fans, but in the main, real lack of confidence in there for Wednesday night. Now for what it's worth, I do think we'll get through on Wednesday night. Maybe that is me being overly optimistic. I also thought we'd beat Spurs and beat them comfortably, but I just think with it being under the lights at Anfield, one of those European nights, Anfield will do its thing. And you hope the players respond. Firstly, I agree he needs to go. It's also a fair thing to say that Arna isn't doing this on purpose. Feels like we need to be more gracious and thank him for what he's done. A lot of it feels brutal, in my opinion. So, I'm not sure, Cameron, how much or little you watch of the channel, mate. But I promise you, I've said on many occasions that if he is fired... Of course, he will always think of him as a Liverpool title-winning manager. And of course, he will always have that respect. But respect, Cameron, is also a two-way street. And I don't think any of us thinks he's doing it on purpose. Really, mate, I don't. Nobody would ever make that accusation. But he is failing to own a lot of this, in my opinion. And I do think he's come across a bit arrogant at times. But... he has won us a league title, and he will always be remembered for that. But I feel, and I don't know if you would agree with this, Cameron, I feel like the longer it goes on, the worse the end sentiment will be. So if this had have been done earlier in the season, when we had that horrible capitulation, I don't think it would have gotten as bad as maybe it is now for a lot of people. And the knock-on effect for that in the future will be probably a bit stronger than it would have been if they did it when it should have been done. But I do take your point on board. But I personally have never once said he's doing it on purpose. Wouldn't even intimate it. I'm sure he's trying his best to figure it out. But, you know, two things can be right at once, mate. He could be a nice guy and we could be a bit more gracious, but he could also do the decent thing and step away. Would you not agree with that? But he won't, because either hubris or financial reasons want him to stay in there. So, it is a two-way street, though, that respect. Mark, how are you, bro? That kind of Fanta's looking pretty delicious about now, Mark. Craig, my dearest, I'm led to believe there was up to 3,000 tickets left before the Spurs game. A question. With no away fans Wednesday night, do the gala tickets become open to us? Yes, they went on sale, I think, a couple of days ago. If we covered it on the channel, I can't remember exactly what day it was, but yes, they did. They went on sale. And I don't know if there were 3,000 tickets left before the Spurs game, but I do know that a lot of people are questioning whether they're going to take up their trips or, buy the tickets. And nobody wants an empty Anfield. Everybody wants a full Anfield. Everybody wants Liverpool fans in there cheering on the team. But it's just a natural direction of travel when a team isn't doing as well and you're still asking for, big money for tickets and stuff, that, people go, I don't know, like for me, and again, I'm just giving you my input, I'd waited my entire life to see Liverpool play Manchester United. I've never been able to get tickets through official channels or, at face value or anything. So for the first time in my life, I was in a financial position that I could afford to pay £700 for those tickets, per ticket, and go and watch that. And it was a dream come true for me. And it was a day I'll never forget for a couple of reasons. For the good reason, the staff at Anfield were incredible. The hospitality we received and everybody received was incredible. Could not speak highly enough of the staff and everybody there. They were incredible. But within 62 seconds, I'm sitting there watching Brian Mbeumo put the ball in the net and us struggle to find a response in the game that most of us look out for as soon as the fixtures come out. And we still couldn't stir ourselves off the back of 3 losses before the break. Arna goes off to Dubai. People tried to say that somehow is okay. No, it isn't. It's not a holiday when the international break is on. You're still Liverpool manager. You still have a fucking job to do. You should be at the exit on the training ground trying to figure it out. So, yeah. Again, didn't need to get this far. Saw with interest today a fan who was at the Spurs game say the tickets became available on Liverpool's website for that game. Return tickets. Unprecedented for Liverpool. Wow. That's astonishing. I can't remember the last time tickets went like that on general sale or had so many sent back. Again, I'm assuming that this is true. Yeah. But it's going to carry on that way. Fly a banner over a home game saying slot out now. I don't know if that would even make any difference, Angie. I really don't, mate. It would probably be just brushed off as non-match going fans chipping together to buy a banner, and that doesn't represent the real Liverpool fan. That'd probably be the spin that gets put on it. So there's a report that Keane's just sent on to me that's come from 1 second. That's come from a sports journalist from, I believe, the Saudi region, who's got followers like Romano and many others, 736,000 followers, has written this. Rumour in Saudi Arabia, Al Hilal have reached an agreement with Richard Hughes to take up the role of sporting director at the club. The terms have been agreed between both parties, with only the contract signing remaining. If the deal is finished, Hughes' support staff will begin work immediately, while he is expected to officially start his duties next summer. So, again, we're taking this at a face value for the moment. What does that say to the stability of our football club? Because remember, these 3 all came in at the same time. Arna, Hughes, Edwards, all came in on 3-year deals. What does that say about the decision makers at our club, if that is true? And I have to say if, because again, we don't know. But it isn't the first time that his name's been linked with Al Hilal. Now, if that's the case, how does that in any way help us right now? More instability at the club, more upheaval at the club. It just feels like it's just one nightmare after another at this point. I read a bit from Simon Hughes, The Athletic, and I cannot understand what's the difference if we're out in the round of 16 of the quarterfinals. Why not sack him right now? I read a bit of Simon Hughes' work, and I think Simon's brilliant at what he does. I think he's a great writer, and he's he's written on some very difficult subjects very well. I just have a disagreement with Simon on how long I think winning a league title, how long that gives you carte blanche to fail or for the results to be poor. I don't think you just get a season flat out and come what may to put it right. And I certainly don't believe you get the opportunity to come back in next year and maybe put it right. Because we can't write off another season if this goes the same way. I've in my time supporting Liverpool, there must have been 6 or 7 seasons that seem to have been just written off. Or, we'll go again next year. Or, do the right thing. There's still a chance to save the season. So I want to ask you a question. Let me just write this out. Okay. So, one of the things that we keep hearing is that they firmly believe that Arne will turn this around and that he's the man that will get the job done, and that sacking him would lead to more upheaval and the season would potentially fade away. So I want to know, for you guys, which option gives us the best chance to save the season? Keeping Arne on as head coach till the summer, or bringing in an interim coach right now and firing him? Which one gives us the best chance to succeed? From you as a fan, in your opinion, which one? And we'll see what people say, because I understood that thinking until it kept getting bad. Like during that little mid-season catastrophe, fair enough. He stuck with him. He turned it around to some extent, but even that, even the set piece change is starting to look a little bit less long-term. We're looking vulnerable again from long balls. We're looking vulnerable again from corners and set pieces. Just look at the way we defended when Victor Osimhen headed the ball down and I can't remember whatever the former Arsenal player's name was that scored the diving header over there. Again, look at Richarlison yesterday from a corner, and he wanders out towards the penalty spot from the 6-yard box and gets a free uncontested header while Virgil scurries out too late after him to try and get there and get a block in. It's just not right. You can see the problems on the pitch. You can see the instructions are just not either getting through or not being carried out, but either way, it's a mess. It's a shambles. Do you reckon he's finally gone if we go out on Wednesday? I really don't know, Luke, mate. Common sense would say yes, but then again, what you'll probably see if he goes out Wednesday is, well, now the Reds can knuckle down and focus on, one game a week or not having too much of a midweek gap, and we can really zone in on getting that top 5 secured. That's probably the answer we'll get as fans. But like I said earlier on, why does it have to get to the worst point before we do something that can save the situation? Why wait till we're out? Because I promise you, and I don't say this lightly, I really, really, with every fibre of my being, believe that somebody else coming into that dressing room with new instructions, a fresh voice, and a little bit of inspiration can go a long way right now. Really, really believe that. Hughes and Edwards were brought in to take the emotions out of decision making, not make us an emotionless club whose main strength has been passion. Very well said, Cal. And again, like I said at the start of the stream, if they see something we don't see, explain that. Speak to the fans. But they don't. They don't do anything. They just hide away in the shadows. That's it. Little puppeteers behind the scenes. No answers. Nothing. Just we know best. Shh. Carry on. Keep paying your money. We know best. Silverbear said, this community you have created, this platform means everything, Craig. You and Connor. I can't think of a better representative of our club than you. So much respect for you. Do not leave us. So, excuse me. Firstly, that's incredibly kind. Thank you. But for me, as a Liverpool fan, do you know how weird it feels hearing you so kindly and lovingly speak to a good person that I am and bringing the community together, and then the club treat me like shit on the end of their shoe, that I am toxic and I should be, quieting down. My crime is what? Loving the club. But because I'm a little bit outspoken, all the other stuff that we do is ignored. All the bringing people together, all the kind stuff we try to do, all the giving back to our community, all the stuff that this channel's been built on, always gets labelled as me just being this toxic lunatic and not a serious person. It breaks my heart, mate. It breaks my heart to love something so much that doesn't want me to exist. And there's so much I can't say that I wish I could. Even around issues of my safety. They've no interest. It's heartbreaking. Simon said, get Johnny Heidinger back. I was only thinking about that yesterday, Simon. So initially, all my thoughts, mate, have been, the Steven Gerrard reunion for a short time. But of course, we know there's some tax implications that Stephen has to be aware of because of his time over in Saudi. If he returns to work too early, I think he's liable for a load of tax. But yeah, the Johnny Heidinger thing, that's something that really has struck a chord with me over the last couple of days, because I remember reading a piece, or a couple of pieces actually, when Johnny left the club, to say how well regarded he was by the players, how much they enjoyed working with him on the training ground. And there was an article written the other day, I think, again, sorry, probably a couple of articles written the other day that said that Slot tried to bring Johnny Heidinger back and the club refused it. Now, I don't know why the club refused it, whether it was they think he has too many staff or they think that, he should have enough to get by. But the other train of thought, of course, is, well, they're not getting him bring back the staff member because they know he's going to be gone and they don't want to give him another pay, or they don't want to have another payoff to the likes of, Heidinger or another coach. No idea which one of those is true, but I would certainly probably come down on the side of they don't want to pay off another person if they believe Aaron is going to be sacked. So this season has nearly broken me on a couple of occasions. The whole numpty thing nearly ended me, and I don't say that lightly. It broke me. To see my character constantly questioned by people who've never held a conversation with me and tried to paint me as this toxic, horrible lunatic couldn't be further from the truth. This has been a difficult season. I've been thinking about why emotionally it's been such a difficult one. And I think it again stems from what we believed going into the season, what our hopes and our ambitions were for the season. And they have not only not been met, but they've been trampled on. And then they tried to tell us that this was some master plan, that this was always going to be the case. that we knew this was going to be a transitional season. Did we fuck? Stop lying. That isn't what you were sitting there in press conferences saying about Liverpool building squads to compete and dominate domestically and compete for all the trophies so that another Plymouth Argyle doesn't happen. Now all of a sudden scraping 5th place is good enough. That's not how you become the most successful club in British football. And I want to not even give you my words on that. I want to give you Steven Gerrard's words on that. So this is what Gerrard said. And this, I think Stevie put it so well. When you represent this club, it's about adding to that trophy wall. It's about trying to change them numbers. The most successful team in Britain. It's the new generation's players' job to add to that and try to change it because we want to keep building. And that's what this football club has always been about. Trophies, winning, success. And yes, doing it with a bit of class along the way, of course. But make no mistake, 5th place isn't a trophy. It doesn't scream success. It just lines the coffers a little bit more. But Gerrard said it there better than I ever could. It's about changing the numbers on the wall. It's about making those league titles tick over one more. Those FA Cups tick over one more. That's how you become the most successful club in Britain. Not by accepting mediocrity and by hiding behind excuses. Nimrod, how are you, sir? Said, we played the same football last season too. It's a myth that we played good. We were relying on Salah the same way Arsenal rely on set pieces. We had moments last year. Some second halves, I feel, Nimrod, that we did play some good football. But you aren't wrong. Look, Stargirl said it best in the chat a few months back. What happened to the similarities with Jurgen? Where did they go? The coach that, ticked a lot of the same boxes, played a similar way, played a 4-3-3, had some success overachieving against, bigger financial clubs. What happened to that? Because this could not be further removed from the brand or style or entertainment value that Jurgen's team brought. And to try to say again that Jurgen had poor seasons too, which he has, is a fucking disgrace. Yes, he may have had seasons where it didn't go to plan, but he absolutely earned the right to have them seasons. And he would always have had the goodwill of the fan base, even in the frustrations, even in our anger. Always. Didn't hear anybody on this channel, didn't hear anybody else calling for Klopp's head. We're calling for Arne's. Why do you think that might be? It took a lot for me to say I want Arne gone. I've said a lot of things on this channel over the years. I've shouted, ranted, screamed, but I've never called for a manager to be fired. Because I know the weight that my words can carry in that regard. And I choose them carefully. But he is absolutely a spoofer. Whatever he says, it feels like we're living in a parallel universe. Because where's the brand of football that he keeps banging on about? Where's his footballing philosophy, his ideals, his DNA? He keeps spouting all these buzzwords, but we're not seeing it translated into the performances on the pitch. We're not even close to it. We are so unenjoyable to watch. How do you do that? How do you take this machine that used to bend people to their will with sheer effort and turn us into this monotonous, dreary, lifeless, soulless team? One man. And they still won't fire him. Chris, how are you, my man? Said, Craig, it's been a terrible season, but watching your content week in, week out has kept me smiling. If I had a choice, I'd vote you as interim manager. I really wholeheartedly wouldn't take the job because I'm not the guy. But, to hear those words, and so many of you, not just tonight, but over the last few months, you've been incredible to me. And I truly just wish, sincerely, that the club would at least open a channel of communication to us. Because we've tried. We've reached out via email. We've tried every angle you can think of to just try to open up any communication so they can really get to see our community, so they can really get to see what we are about. Not the clips, not the few seconds you see on social media that you think tells you everything you need to know about me as a person or about our community. You know, I just wish they would, because they'd see what I see. Real good people who embody everything this football club should be about. Support of each other, support of their community, saying what's right, not backing down. These are the people that I come in every night to talk to. These are the people that have held me up and given me an opportunity in life that I probably don't deserve. And I'm going to work my ass off to make sure that I continue to do that. And yes, there will be times where maybe I'm a bit embarrassing, or maybe I go a bit too far, or maybe I say something that I shouldn't say, and I'll hold my hands up when I do. But I'm so sad for all of us, because it doesn't need to be this way. Matthias said, what irritates me the most is the fact that he's burning out the young players from the youth academy. Why doesn't he use Ramsey, Neone and Morrison? Why did he sell Morton and Doak? What really got me about the situation with Ramsey is that he publicly came out and said he has better options at right back. Now, even if he believes that to be true, why do you say that about a young kid who's at the club? What is that going to do for his confidence or his belief? Much easier to say something like, we're trying to get Calvin to where he needs to be. We're trying to get him there in minutes. We don't want to put him into difficult situations and unnecessarily dent his confidence. Simple little things, but he doesn't. He just comes across as cold and sterile. Hey Craig, I want to start a YouTube channel based on football like you, but I'm worried about friends and family making fun of me. Do you have any advice? I can't really advise you on that, because my friends and family have only ever been incredibly supportive of what I've done, because anyone that knows me knows what Liverpool means to me and what I'm about. But what I would say to you is, never take the opinions of somebody that doesn't want you to succeed to heart, because that's it. They don't want you to succeed. Surround yourself by people who will make you better, make you happier, fill you with confidence, inspire you, and push you on to do better things. But you do it, man. You do it, and show them that you can do it. You know, be you. Have fun. Enjoy yourself. And I urge everybody that has any aspirations to start a podcast, write articles, talk about football, do it. I don't regret 1 minute of it, even after all the ups and downs and the frustrations and the pain. I do it all again tomorrow. It's been an incredible part of my life. I love it. Sinister said, much love, brother. Hope you're doing well. I'm all right. I'm okay. Yeah, didn't really know what way this stream tonight was going to go, to be honest with you. Didn't know how I was going to be, whether it was going to come on in angry, ranty form, but, you know, I very quickly realised that, yeah, everyone's hurting at the minute. Probably best to come on and hear people out. Mr. Black Football put up a post that kind of summarised exactly how bad yesterday was for us. He said, the worst Spurs side of all times. Tottenham had 13 injuries. They'd lost 6 in a row. Vicario pushed the ball into his own net. Dragusa was on the pitch. We were playing at home. 100% a sackable result for Arne. Dominic Soboslai said, I don't think it helps us that after 80 minutes people start to go home. Everybody is noticing that, and when we concede a goal, still people are leaving the stadium. I understand the frustration, but we need them. I think it should be normal that in hard times we stick together even more. We want to make them happy. It's not what we do on purpose. They can be angry, but stick with us because we're a family. We need you guys. I can't really argue with the sentiment, but it must send some type of message that fans are walking out. because they don't believe that they're seeing the same work rate, effort, endeavour out there on the pitch. So I do understand where Dominic is coming from, of course, but that's how bad the season has been for people. And I'm sure, and I absolutely understand that it must be very difficult for the players at times. But fans, like the players, are trying to figure out how we got here. And fans, there's this myth that fans should always just be happy, supportive. That's not how life and sport works. People pay their money, they get their say. If people feel disappointed, they've every right to express that. In the same way, when Anfield is great, it's incredible. But the more and more expensive it becomes, and the more difficult it is for people to get to football matches, the more that they come with an expectation, rightly or wrongly, of being entertained, of getting value for the money that they're spending. And Liverpool and football fans will forgive a lot, but they just simply will not forgive a perceived lack of effort. They just won't. You think about the players that we love at this club, outside of the ones with obscene talent like Steven Gerrard and whatnot, we love an Andy Robertson. We love genuine, honest, hard endeavour, graft, people who are our representation out there on the pitch. And yeah, it's just, again, nobody wins. I totally do understand where Dom comes from. But it's not a personal thing. At least, I don't know anybody who doesn't hold these guys in high regard. I hope he understands it's more a reflection of where they feel with the manager than how they think individually about those players, because we all love them and we think of them as superheroes. In our poor season in 2022-23, we won against Man United 7-0, Bournemouth 9-0 and Leeds 6-1. We played with passion and purpose even at our most poor. Slot is not that man, and his philosophy is the common denominator. He must go. I don't disagree. I don't disagree with a single word that you've said. Look, I want to reiterate, because in case this comes across incorrectly, nobody I know is acting personal against the manager. This is all based off what we're seeing and the football we're playing. It isn't about Arna as a guy. It isn't about him as a human being. This is just about what we're seeing on the pitch, which is a reflection of what he's asking them to do. Like, we went from having a good team and adding in great players. Like, who do we really lose last year that could justify this fall off? Diaz, fair enough. But Darwin, everybody knew. And everybody wanted Darwin gone. Diogo was just a tragedy that nobody could have planned for. But there was a couple of interesting things I'd seen from a few journalists today questioning the rationale behind some of Liverpool's spending. And there was one piece in particular I wanted to highlight for you. It was Adam Crafton who said there was the whole let's go sign 2 centre forwards. That was the bit that didn't really make sense at all for me. That's just not because Isak has had his difficulties and had injuries. It was a huge amount of money to spend on a position they literally just strengthened while still leaving themselves short on that left side forward position. What they really needed was pace in wide positions and a holding midfielder. Now, this is something we all touched on in the summer. Nobody's going to say no as fans to have an Isak and Ekitike. But it did feel like after we signed Hugo Ekitike, it was almost like a personal pet project or an ambition for Hughes and Edwards to get Isak into the club, whatever happened. And after you've spent 70-something million quid on Ekitike, you do have to question if we needed to spend £125 million on another centre-forward, whilst not addressing the defensive midfield position and not replacing wide players, and then telling fans it's because they don't want to block the pathway for Rio and then you have a manager who won't play him. These are things that fans get taken for idiots with. These two things just don't match up. So, yeah, there could have been a world where if Isak was the one you wanted, fair enough. But once you signed Ekitike, do you really have to keep pushing for Isak? As much as I love them, don't get me wrong, I'm very happy we signed him. But it has come at the expense of other areas of the pitch. Is there nothing to be said that we could have signed another 60, 70 million pound centre forward and then spent money on a central midfielder? And I still would love to get an explanation in the Mark Gay situation how Liverpool Football Club wanted him at the end of the summer. A deal was pulled at the 11th hour. They openly briefed everybody, including the journalists, that they want to sign him again next summer. Pearce came out and said that it's a matter of if and not when he becomes a Liverpool player, or something to that effect. And then he becomes available in January. And again, I want to make this point really clear. He becomes available in January after our situation has gotten even worse at centre-back with the unfortunate situation with young Giovanni Leone. So we then have an even worse situation, and he comes available for less money, and they still don't make a play to sign him. And not only that, they don't do anything to bring in reinforcements. How is that giving us the best chance to succeed this season? Please explain that to me. Because the old excuse is the players you want aren't available in January, or they're overpriced. Well, Semenyo had a buyout clause that could have easily been triggered and was. And Mark Gay was in a Liverpool tracksuit. And you still didn't go back for him. Now, if you're a player that the club are telling to hang on for a deal, how much faith do you put in them when Gay was wanted by Liverpool? You're our guy, but now you're not. None of these things make fucking sense. And it doesn't get questioned enough. Big reset needed, new coach, lots of ins and outs, said Corbyn. Yeah, but look, we got to be honest with ourselves here. Whatever happens, if a new coach comes in, there is going to be some changes and a period of transition with a new coach. But I can only speak for me with this. At least that new coach would have a lot of goodwill and people would understand changes. It's a bit difficult to talk about going into a third season of transition with a new manager. Like, it just feels weird to even be saying that. Again, they decided they didn't want to make signings in the first season. That was a conscious decision. Then in the second summer, they half did the job. So what's to make us believe that next summer, with more changes, that we aren't going to get the same excuses, more transition, more new players settling in, intensity, all these garbage buzzwords that Arna loves to throw around. I don't believe for 1 second anything will be different. We might be a little bit better, but we still won't be able to make the best of what we have, which is what Arna hasn't been able to do this year. Hoarder said Salah is now worse than Darwin last year. I don't know. The Salah one is a really... I have to admit, that situation is one that I really have struggled to figure out. Because we have to look at it and think, last year he overachieved. We have to be honest about that. But still, it feels like a big fall away this year. Here's the question that I've asked Connor and I'd like to ask you guys. Do you think if a new coach came in that we would see an improvement in Salah? I'm not saying get him back to his peak prime years, but it kind of feels like he doesn't believe in Arna and he feels a bit subdued. It's so difficult to be factual about this stuff when you're not on the training ground, but that's at least what I feel. That a new manager would at least give him something else. And I said this a few weeks ago. I paid particular attention to how Stephen Gerrard spoke when he was talking about Mohamed Salah. And he spoke with incredible respect. And I wondered, was he preparing it for maybe having to come in and manage and you know, coach Mo for a little bit, and wanted to come in and show that respect right away? Because I don't know if we'll ever see the best of Mo again, but I feel quite confident that a new manager could get a bit more out of him, and certainly put an arm around his shoulder and make him a bit more confident. You know, there is other things that have happened. The right back situation can't be ignored, and the loss of Trent and the impact that had on Mo's positioning. But these things you would think over the course of a season would start to iron themselves out, and you'd start to see some stability. Now, the club will go on about injuries, but they gave Conor Bradley a new deal, and the very first thing Arne said was he has to prove that he can play 2 games a week, which he hasn't. They bring in Frimpong, a player who had very little to no injuries at Leverkusen and has suddenly had some with us this season, which is why I'm circling back around to the training methods and the lack of real graft out there and hard yards. Danny Ealing said, he doesn't have tactics, we can't press, we look lost. I'm trying to find... I'm trying to find... this came in from Adam Kraft. He said, Xabi Alonso was expected to be a top candidate for the manager's job if Arne Slot is sacked, and many believe he would be willing to accept the role. Jayden Danns, unfortunately, came back for the 21s tonight and picked up another injury. Poor lad just can't catch a break. Really do feel for him. Where's the bit I'm trying to find here? Ben's Bolchak put up a really interesting post that I wanted to get your opinion on. It's around his choice for the next manager if he had his say. And I've always said I don't know enough about this coach to really give you my opinion, but I'd like to know yours. So Ben's writes, I know a lot of fans want Alonso, but in my opinion, if Liverpool want to return to high-intensity football with aggressive pressing structures and want somebody with the experience at the top level, then Julian Nagelsmann is your man. He's doing a great job with Germany. He's developed some of the best pressing teams in the Bundesliga with Hoffenheim, Leipzig and Munich. Jurgen Klopp seems to be a big fan of him as well. He said, I always thought he got fired too prematurely at Bayern. He won 71.4% of his games. He said, obviously Alonso would be a solid choice too. Just feel like Nagelsmann is better suited for a Klopp 2.0 style of play. Thoughts on that one? I don't know much about Nagelsmann. Sorry, I just got distracted by another message that just came into my inbox. Bear with me. Okay. So, Asim. I'm sure you guys know who Asim is. Asim said, just been messaged by some good Saudi sources. I think there are legs to this Richard Hughes news. I'd love to know what's going on here. You know, because if Hughes is talking about taking the job in Al Hilal, he's clearly cutting and running, or else he's about to be fired. I don't know which one. But again, it's going to lead to more instability as we don't have a sporting director there. He was brought in as Edwards' guy. So, yeah, it could be an interesting next few months. We aren't all 3 midfielders are not structured. We've been kind of playing with 2 midfielders and a 10 a lot of the time, where Carragher said in one of his pieces recently, and I agreed with him, that we should sacrifice one of the attacking quartet, and that's why in a lot of my preview videos lately you've seen me push Wirtz out to the left-hand side, because I do think we need that extra body in midfield, but I also think that we don't have enough snidiness in midfield. We're good on the ball, yes, but I don't think we're aggressive enough. So, Don't forget our poll, by the way, if you haven't voted in it yet. We're asking which option gives us the best chance of saving the season. Keeping Arne as head coach or bringing in an interim coach? Did you miss my super chat, my friend? Most likely, dude, yeah. Let me scroll back up and find it for you. Apologies on that one, Itachi. Yeah, there it is. Sorry, mate. My apologies. Why do we wait till it's all over? Fans made it clear. Fans should always have the last word. And thank you, Craig, for being here right now with us. It helps. We're not alone. Keep it up, Reds. Exactly the same sentiment as me, Itachi. I don't know why we're trying to wait till it's too late. You know, here's my honest assessment of the Champions League this year. If it stays as we are right now, I think we beat Galatasaray and we get knocked out by Paris Saint-Germain. And I'm not even going to pussyfoot around with this. I'm actually pre-cringing at the idea of hearing him fawn over PSG again. So I genuinely believe that with somebody else to inspire this team and harness the energy of Anfield, with the second leg at Anfield, with a different coach, I really think we could give them a game. And it's a 50-50. But with Arne, no, 70-30 against. That's how strongly I believe that there is a good group of footballers in this team. I don't think they're poor. I don't for 1 second. I do think we're short in certain areas, but they're not a bad team. We're just not seeing the best of them. He's not able to get the best out of them. Would you sell Cody and Maka in the summer? I would sell Maka for the right money. Because I think we could do with freeing up a midfield space. But I think one of Maka and Jones may go. Now, of course, everybody will have their own preference on that. I just think if the right number's there for McAllister at the age he's at as well. But I don't want to lose Maka. I'm a huge Maka fan. I really, really like him. I've bought a signed shirt of his in Argentina one to hang up in the house here. I really do like him. But I think there is going to be movement in midfield of somebody this summer to make way for a number 6. And would I sell Cody? I'm pausing because I think one of Cody and Salah could go. But the smart play is to sell Salah. Even though saying that out loud feels weird. I don't think you can move both on in one window because you're losing a lot of experience from the front line. And then you're looking at an Isak coming back in with little to no Liverpool experience. Ekitike, yeah, he'll have settled in at that point. Young Rio. And then we've no real proven options on either side apart from that. So I think one of those could probably go in the summer. With Salah's contract being where it is as well, I think he's probably more likely to be cashed in on. If Hughes is going to Al Hilal, does that mean Salah follows suit to Saudi? I don't know. But yeah, I wouldn't sell both Salah and Cody. And I know you didn't ask me that. I'm just putting my point across. I think there may be room for one to go. I think Cody's been, I don't want to say a scapegoat this year, but I really feel that what a lot of people are missing from Cody this year was something he never did, and it was what Diaz did. And I think we're missing the balance of two different options and two different style of left-sided forwards. Cody's done what Cody does, which is chip in with some goals and assists, be tactically aware, but not really exciting on the eye to watch. And, you know, maybe he's dropped off a bit, but I think he's really gotten the brunt of a lot of frustration that we don't have the Diaz-esque style player there as well. And I include myself in that because it frustrates me seeing that we're a bit one-dimensional out there. I just wouldn't think he's a starter. I think Cody Gakpo is a great squad player, but I'd like a more dynamic left winger. Like at this moment in time, genuinely I'd be playing Rio over him. And I'm not just saying that to be sensationalist. I really would. Danny, he said he doesn't have tactics. We can't press. We look lost. We do. Hey, as a German, Nagelsmann is good, but he brought accountability to the national team again to indirectly say now he rips it up again. Mixed feelings. Yeah, I mean, I totally get that, mate. You know, if you're happy with the job he's doing as German national team coach, I mean, would it ease a little bit if Kloppo stepped into those shoes afterwards? Because, you know, if Nagelsmann doing a really good job and German public are happy with him, I could understand where you're coming from. But, you know, if Jurgen was, you know, coming in there after Nagelsmann, I dare say, you know, he'd have accountability and fans would still be excited at what they see. But thank you for your insight as a German footy fan, mate. Really appreciate it. What happened to Maka? He was good last season, said Xbox's ex-gamer. I don't know if it's fatherhood or, you know, he said, now that I've become a father, sometimes realise that you could be a bit selfish. I'm allowed to be a bit selfish or do what I want or something along those lines. So I don't know if fatherhood has maybe kept him up at night or something. I don't know. If I remember correctly, he came into the season off the back of an injury and maybe didn't have a full pre-season. But yeah, look, Alexis McAllister has nothing to prove with regards to the quality of him as a footballer. Just this year, it's hard to know how much of it's down to a poor individual form for Maka and how much of it's just to do with the way everything is at the club right now. Neon said Slots turned us from believers to atheists. I'd go a bit further than atheists. I'd go a bit further into, you know, more anti him than just passive to it. Like atheists just don't believe in God or religion. Or maybe that's agnostic. Maybe I'm getting them confused. But either way, it's now actively, I don't like to say this, but I feel a visceral reaction when I see him. It makes me angry just to look at him, which is, it's so hard to mentally come to terms with that. You look at the Liverpool manager and you feel just sheer anger at this point. That's it. Somebody said, Craig, I remember you mentioned about Gerrard tax, but he's not working for TNT Sport. So I have no idea how that job is being paid to him, or whether it's, he might be employed outside of the UK. So the TNT Sport contract, I don't know, you know, if that contract, let's say, is for TNT Sports American offices and yet you still work. I don't know is the honest answer. There could be some clever accountancy going on. It could be, I don't even know if it's a deferred payment thing. I don't know. But they obviously found a way around it for that. And I'd hope that they could maybe find a way around it again. But not knowing all the information, I'd be guessing. But it is an interesting point that you've raised, certainly. Itachi said, interesting weeks ahead if Hughes and Arnott leave the club. Yeah, but also concerning because, you know, instability is not a good thing either going forward. Like, you want a sporting director in there for a good, you know, 5-6 year cycle. I think Macca's selfish comment is about money and new contract. The poor form is a reflection of tactics. The whole midfield is questionable. I think that's fair, Emmanuel. The midfield is definitely not, it doesn't have enough bite in it for me. Just not enough fight in that midfield. You know, to see the players at the end of the game yesterday, especially Szoboszlai, looking kind of forlorn and numb out there on the pitch, you always wonder, like, how did it get to that? Like, we should have wiped the floor with Spurs yesterday. It should have been a confidence building exercise. And as time went on and the score stayed at 1-0, it nearly became a self-fulfilling prophecy that we concede that goal and draw the game. And that's just over and over again this season, unfortunately. Craig, I know this is hysterical and insight, but on hindsight, do you think Slot made the wrong subs against Spurs at the wrong time and the wrong players coming on and going off? I can't understand why Rio was subbed. I definitely don't understand that substitution. Like I said, he's a 17-year-old kid and he'd be able to run for hours. So I don't get that one, especially when Cody was being pretty ineffective. I'm trying to think. Let me just get my phone so I can remember exactly when all the other subs were taking place. 1 second. Right, so let's have a look at the substitutions. So 64 minutes, he brought on Salah, Ekatike and Jones, and he took off Frimpong, Wirtz and Rio Ingamoa. The only one I really have a question for there is why did he not pull Frimpong? Well, maybe Frimpong is the fitness thing. Salah on for Rio. I would have preferred that it was Gakpo that went off. Maybe we tried Salah central. Wirtz, I don't think was having a particularly good game yesterday, so I don't mind that one. Curtis Jones on for Frimpong. That one feels a bit weird, to be honest with you. Then we go Trey Neone for Gakpo. That one I don't get. I really don't get that one. Why he made that change. And what was the story with Canada yesterday, by the way? Somebody said something about personal issues or something. I don't know, but he was named on the bench. And, when he made the change to take off Gakpo when we were 1-0 up and bring on Leone, I was certainly thinking, why aren't you bringing on Canada? Because their best avenue of attack then is direct ball to Solanke. They played 2 up top, so why not bring on another centre-back and try to help out the lads? Because if you look at the goal, how it came about, Robertson misjudges the flight of the ball or gets tangled up with a player and the ball kind of just bounces off Robbo's head, falls down, and then the ball is laid across to Richarlison who scores. That was, again, just so weak. And that should have been meat and drink for the defence. So, I heard Canade had a knock. If he has a knock, then why is he on the bench? That's another question. You're either fit or you're not. And if you're not fit, you shouldn't be on the bench. That's just taking the place of an option. If he's not a genuine option to bring off the bench to bring on, then it's just a waste of a spot on the bench. Does the calculator kid take Lord Hughes' job? I don't know, because if you remember when the calculator kid came back in, it was that he didn't want to go back and do a sporting director job. That being there, done that, got the t-shirt kind of thing. He wanted something that would excite him, something that would, he'd be able to get his teeth stuck into, which was supposed to be buying another club. Now, I don't know what happened there. I don't know if FSG still have ambitions for another club, but we're 2 years into it and still no sign of that other club. So after that, I really don't know what the man does day to day. Because Hughes is the sporting director, so what exactly is Edwards doing? And that's a sincere question. It's Ramadan. That's just not true, though, is the reason. Because I don't know what time the sun set yesterday, but I would dare say it was probably early stages of the second half. So at that point, I don't know when people broke their fast yesterday, but at 4:30 kickoff, I don't know what time the sun was going down at. I can't remember, but Canade, I don't think that's the reason why they didn't play. I just don't. Canade's played games before that. So yeah, I don't know. Jurgen sporting director and Xabi as head coach. I don't know, mate, because I feel like something happened with Jurgen. Again, just a feeling. Certainly, there's been enough rumour that he fell out with Hughes Edwards at one point, but I don't know. I take Jurgen back in any capacity in a heartbeat, but I just don't see it happening, unfortunately. Would you like FSG to sell up? So, this is It used to be that I was known for being the FSG out angry, where's the money, John man? And I made a promise last summer that if they back the manager, you won't hear me moaning about the owners. And I think I've been true to my word on that. So on this one, I guess the only thing I'm concerned about is why they haven't pulled the trigger yet on removing Arna. Because outside of that, look, they backed the manager. We've had 2 league titles in their reign, a European Cup, League Cups, FA Cups. My big gripe with them was the Super League and the lack of backing managers. And the Super League, look, it's done, it's gone, can't change the past, so you have to move on. And the manager thing, look, they've backed them. They backed Arna this summer, and that's all I ever asked of them. So I'm not really as concerned about whether they sell up or not. I just want them to act and try to save the season rather than writing off another one. One more thing I noticed, and it pisses me off, is that Maka tries foul bait and would just fall to the ground, start rolling. The ref says it's off and he's still on the ground. Yeah, don't. Definitely know where you're coming from with that. A couple of occasions at yesterday as well. And it happened with Szoboszlai at one point as well. Not yesterday, I think in a previous game. Yeah, you're right. Just get the fuck up and get on with it. Now, Maka does get into a fair few battles, in fairness to him. Like, he does take quite a few knocks. But yeah, get up, get back, and defend. What do you think it is that we're afraid to pass and shoot? Again, you don't know whether that's El Scouts or 8, mate, whether that's instruction. You know, we don't want you shooting unless you get into this area. Like, there was a stat, I think, about crossing from half spaces being more impactful than from wide areas. And, you know, I don't know if there's something similar with shooting, if they think that they want to get it into the higher percentage area for where it could transform into a goal or translate into a goal. Hard to know when we don't know the instructions the players are being given, but again, we know we've got good strikers of a football. Just look at Dominic Szoboszlai and the free kicks he scored. Hey mate, what's the update on Richard Hughes? Joined a bit late. See Dave O'Cop reporting he's going to Al Hilal. There was a report that Keane very kindly sent on to me from an account on X that's called Ahmad Tuman, AHMAD, number 2 MAN. Said a neutral sports journalist who responds to abuse with kindness is not weak, but rather to practice his ethics. And then this journalist has 736,000 followers, is followed by Romano and many other journalists, and has written that... One second. There it is. Sorry, I'm scrolling back through my notes here. He wrote that Al Hilal have reached an agreement with Richard Hughes to take up the role of sporting director at the club. The terms have been agreed between the parties, with only the contract signing remaining. If a deal is finished, Hughes' support staff will start work immediately, and he's expected to officially start his duties next summer. Now, when they say next summer, do they mean when his contract is up next summer, or next summer as in the summer that's coming up right now? That I don't know. Then Asim said, just messaged by some good Saudi sources, I think there are legs to this Richard Hughes story. So on Michael Edwards, I think Keane just tried to find out about a salary here, and it says Michael Edwards' salary upon returning to Fenway Sports Group as CEO of football is reported to be a multi-million-pound package described as being akin to a top coach's remuneration. So top coaches are on about £7, £8, £9 million a year. If that's what Hughes or Edwards is getting paid to do what? That's a fuckload of money. He said he was previously pursued by Manchester United with reported demands of £12 million per year, indicating a very high valuation of his services. Asking for 12 million quid a year? And you wonder where the money's going and why we have such a high wage bill. Wage bill. 12 million quid a year to operate like a Schleveen behind the scenes and have no accountability or stand up, speak up, stand in front of a microphone, explain what's happening. Fucking great gig. Wouldn't mind that. Craig, sadly, emphasis on sad. I think Arnold will get till October, December next season to make us look convincing. He changed defence and attack, but the mid is non-existent. I don't know. I hope you're wrong. I really do. But here's what I predict will happen this year. We'll win nothing and we'll finish 4th or 5th. And somehow they'll try to vindicate that and make out like that's good enough to keep him in the job. But, we have a poll running and it's heading towards 2,000 votes. So if you haven't voted, please do. Yeah, I've got 15 minutes left on tonight's stream. The preview was coming out at 10:45 p.m. for the Galatasaray game. So when you're finished with the stream, if you could give that a look, let me know what you think. It'd be much appreciated. Right, I've a couple of favours to ask you, ladies and gentlemen. If you can, please do hit that subscribe button for me. And if you haven't hit the like button on the stream, please do. It really does help push us out there. We want to try to continue to grow our community and try to push towards 500,000 subscribers and keep adding new family members in. So if you do enjoy the streams, and double check that you are subscribed, because you'd be surprised the amount of people that watch every night and don't actually hit that subscribe button. So about 150 votes short of 2,000 on the coach conversation. I'm still trying to find this post, actually. Bear with me. Right, do you know what I'll do? Let me just run through a load of news for you in one fell swoop, and we'll go from there. So we covered up to Dominic Szoboszlai earlier. So Szoboszlai only needs to score one more free kick to go level with David Beckham and Laurent Robert as the most free kick goals in a single Premier League season. Dom currently on 4, and David Beckham and Laurent Robert had 5. Then we told you Kieran Morrison's been called up to the Northern Ireland senior squad for this month's World Cup playoff semi-final against Italy. Congratulations to Kieran on that. Then there was Team Talk, who said clubs in England and across Europe have made contact with Liverpool about the availability of 25-year-old goalkeeper Georgi Mamardashvili after the Reds extended the contract of Alisson Becker for another season. Now, that to me doesn't make much sense for the club to do. Why would you loan out Georgie when you know Alisson has had a couple of injury concerns? The real thing to do there would have been to give him the 2 domestic cup competitions. But again, he can't even manage the goalkeepers right, and he's playing Alisson in FA Cup games when, that should be Georgie's bread and butter. Then we report here that Nizar Kinsler and many others have reported that Chelsea have been given a £10.75 million fine by the Premier League for alleged historic agent payments. There's no first-team sanctions, but they are subject to an immediate 9-month academy transfer ban. Then we told you about Rio Engamoa's praise from Gary Lineker. He said, I don't want to get carried away. I'm not comparing him, but I am saying he's got that stop-start sharpness of Kylian Mbappe. I'm not saying he is Mbappe because obviously he's one of the great players, but he's got enormous potential. He wasn't scared to take people on. Pedro Porro didn't know which way he was going to go. And then that clever little threaded pass, he went very close a couple of times, hit the outside of the post. I thought it was really special. I was surprised, actually, he went off. Then Chris Williams had said, if you change the head coach, and I think it's inevitable and the right thing to do, there are those above who must also fall on their sword. Otherwise, you get a situation like United have encountered. Went on to say training methods fully evolved in March last year to focus on injury prevention. They had slowly been building since June 2024. Time off is a very specific concept in red zone training. No doubt pre-season was affected, but this way of training was planned in advance. He finished up by saying, I have a genuine issue with certain people in the club who actively pressure others into towing lines and get in the ear of the free press to complain about coverage. I also have a massive issue with players who are half-heartedly playing. I also have no time for stubborn coaches. Then we had Peter O'Rourke say Liverpool are prepared to table a new contract offer for Andy Robertson and will leave it to the defender to decide whether his future is at Anfield or not. The really interesting part about that when I read it was, what type of offer? Are you going to offer him a lot less than he's currently on? Or are they going to offer him to roll over on his current contract for a year? So the devil of that will definitely be in the detail. Steven Gerrard said the best player I ever played with at Liverpool is Luis Suarez. Fernando Torres and Luis Suarez were the two best players I played with. They were the game changers. I played behind and I wish I played with them for longer. He also said when you represent this club, it's about adding to that trophy wall. It's about trying to change them numbers. The most successful team in Britain. It's the new generation players' job to add to that and to try to change it because we want to keep building. Then we had Opta Joe, who said, Liverpool have conceded 10 goals in the 90th minute of matches in all competitions this season, the most of any side in Europe's big 5 leagues. Then we'd Steven Gerrard say, every time I come to Anfield and watch the game, or I'm covering it as a pundit, I always wish I was playing. I miss it every day. Then we had Adam Crafton, who said there was the whole let's go and sign 2 centre forwards. That bit really didn't make sense at all for me. That's not just because Isak has had difficulties and had injuries. It was a huge amount of money to spend on a position that they literally strengthened while still leaving themselves short in the left side forward position. They also need to pay some wide positions and a holding midfielder. Simon Hughes said, there is a feeling that at the moment Slot will be able to steer this in the right direction eventually. But sometimes results get in the way of these best laid plans, and if Liverpool were to go out of the Champions League to Galatasaray, it will be really, really hard for Slot to rescue back the trust, I think. The trust is gone. The only people left trusting him is the calculator kid and Richard Hughes. That's it. Fans don't trust him. The players, well, their performances are showing you where they're at. Then he also said there are senior figures whose contracts are running out at the same time, Slot, Edwards and Hughes. If Liverpool are thinking about making a change about Slot, any manager or agent is going to want to know whether those guys that are hiring are sticking for the long term as well. That needs to be cleared up pretty quickly by FSG. Then Adam Crafton was speaking about Alonso and he said, I'm not sure it's as an obvious fit as people might think. It feels weird to me to imagine Liverpool with a 3-man defence. It's just not something we're used to seeing, and there are not many teams that have had huge success in the Premier League with 3 at the back. I think Antonio Conte changed to 3 at the back and won the league with Chelsea after we beat them, if I'm not mistaken. Xabi Alonso is expected to be a top candidate for the manager's job if Arne Slot is sacked, and many believe he would be willing to accept the role. Also, we had Ian Doyle saying Jayden Dan's return for the under-21s was cut short after only 29 minutes as he pulls up with a hamstring issue. Champions League qualification scenario that could see 7 teams qualify for the Champions League from the Prem next season. It would need the top 4 to be Arsenal, United, City and Chelsea, Liverpool to win the Champions League, Villa to win the Europa League, and then Brentford would sneak in. Jamie Carragher said the bigger point is how worrying it is for the manager. I think there's a difference with most supporters in terms of what we see online and social media compared to the match-going fans. Just a little fuck you again to all the non-match-going fans. Great, isn't it? I feel so loved as a Liverpool fan with all of this constant moaning about us online fans. I think a lot of this season, when people have turned on Arne Slot, the match-going fans have stuck with him. You look back to what happened with Mo Salah, the next game was away at the San Siro and they were chanting for Arne Slot, and it's not easy for a Liverpool crowd to turn on the manager who's won a title 12 months before. I felt there was a big shift yesterday in terms of how the crowd felt with the team and their manager. The booing at the end, that was proper booing. That was a really unhappy and disgruntled fan base, and I think it's going to be really difficult for Arne Slot to get them back. For me, I felt that shift and heard that shift after the Forest game. That's a game that stands out to me where people really felt annoyed and really felt like they were shifting away from the manager or backing the manager. Is Cara right saying Slot has a job to get the fans back? I don't think he can get them back. And I think Arne knows that. I've said to you guys a few times in comments recently or a while back, he said Once this starts happening, when fans start, becoming against the manager or unhappy, every time a bad result comes around, it rears its ugly head again. And he's right. It isn't going to go away. As soon as he loses another 2 or 3 games, it's going to come up all over again. Because fans just don't believe that he is the guy. And again, remember this from a fan's perspective. We win the league, then we add to the squad with 200 million quid's worth of strikers, 450 million quid's worth of talent, and we've gone backwards. And it's lasted all season. We're now in March, halfway through March, and we're still dire. Not once have we looked like clicking. That's really hard to come to terms with as a fan mentally. How do you go from winning the league, wanting to back up that by defending the title, and not only come short, just fall so short of that? It's inconceivable. Right, so we only need 40 more votes, and then we're at 2,000. We'll knock this one on the head. If you haven't voted yet on our what is the best chance of saving the season poll, please do take a quick second there and have a vote. Talking about goals and forwards, did you see the Brentford goal tonight? A pinpoint pass, out left, bang. Darwizi header in. I did see that. It was a fullback, I think, came in behind Igor Thiago. Unless you're talking about a different goal. I only seen the first goal in the Brentford game. But yeah, they came in at the back post, and Thiago missed it, and it was a beautiful header. Really was, right into top bins. You'll have to forgive me. I've forgotten your name again. Is it Phil? Apologies. You did say to me what your name was, and I've forgotten. PDHWYWRD, excuse me. You did tell me your name. I'm so sorry that I've forgotten. You said, we still had hospitality tickets available for sale in the morning yesterday. That's shocking, even above the fans leaving early, booing. If it starts losing the club income, they may sack him. Pam, thank you, Pam. Thank you. My apologies, Pam. Thank you for clearing that up, folks, again. I've a memory like a sieve, Pam. My apologies. But yeah, that is shocking. You're right. Yeah, shocking that they were still available. It's only going to get worse. Let's say we get knocked out of the Champions League, even against PSG. The remaining league games and stuff, it is going to be difficult, because what is there to play for? Yes, you need Champions League qualification for the financials, but, it's not... It's not inspiring to say, yay, we finished 5th and we got into the Champions League. It's great for next season, but if it doesn't lead to success and actually competing for these trophies, then what's the point? So we have 10 more votes to go. So if you haven't voted, please do. And again, don't forget to hit that like button for me. Really interested to know your thoughts on the preview tonight, which is coming out now in 1 minute. So if you do get a chance, folks, when the stream is over, or maybe on your way to work tomorrow or whatever, do give it a little watch for me and let me know what you think. Obviously, Champions League action returns tomorrow. We're not playing till Wednesday, but there will be some interesting footy. So we'll probably start the stream a little bit later tomorrow. Probably start at about 9 p.m. to let everybody at least get the first half out of the way. Connor will be here in the morning with another news video. Of course, I'll have my 4:30 video, and then I'll be back here with you guys tomorrow night at 9 o'clock. All things point to Wednesday, and that is big game. Big game. Truly, I still do think we'll get through. I really do. Even with all that's gone on, I think Anfield will carry the lads over the line and we'll get the job done. But yeah, don't know what to expect with regards to quality of performance or whatever. Right, so we've now passed 2,000 votes, and 88% of people said bringing in a new coach would give us the best chance of saving this season. And only 12% said keeping Slot in the job would be the best way to do it. So there you go. Again, appreciate all of you tonight. Really, really want to tell you how much you all mean to me, how much I appreciate your support, how much I don't take it for granted, and how much you all mean to not just me, but my family. We think of you as our extended family. We really do. This isn't just the channel for me. It isn't just the job. This is a way of life, and you guys have been a big part of that. So again, thank you so much for all that you do for us, for all the support you give us. It really, really means a lot. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have yourselves a good night. Thank you again for your support, and thank you for joining. We'll see you then.